So you're just starting out, or you've been playing for a while and you're wondering, what's the secret? Like, what's the secret to get to that top tier level of musicianship and be able to play and perform like the pros? Well, in this video, I'm going to reveal the top 5 ways to become a killer musician. So let's get to it. Hey, and welcome to Music Space, where we help working musicians just like you learn how to quickly and easily make a living with your craft. So if you're new here to the channel, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you'll be notified when new videos are uploaded. Now, right before we get into this video, if you're a musician or an artist looking to make some serious passive income and build a huge fan base, I'm advising all musicians like this to start a YouTube channel today. And that's because right now, YouTube is killing the game. YouTube remains the ultimate platform for musicians like you and I to build a huge fan base and make lots of money. And because of that, I have created the YouTube QuickStart course. This course is designed to help you get up and running and making money and building a fan base on YouTube really quickly and easily. And the best part is it's completely free and you can get instant access to it at the link in the description of this video. Okay, so way number 1 to become a killer musician is you have to start by understanding it's a process. This concept is crucially important to understand, and it's the one concept that keeps a lot of musicians and artists sort of at bay and from improving and growing. See, what happens is we get into something like trying to learn an instrument or trying to just be better at an instrument, and we have this mindset that it's supposed to come like overnight or in 30 days or in 60 days or, you know, whatever. Like, you're supposed to be able to play like a virtuoso after 3 months or something like that. And if you think that way, it's not entirely all your fault. That sort of concept has been marketed to you in a lot of ways, you know, like the quick results, the 30-day results, the overnight results. You know, learn to play the guitar in 30 days is a really popular title. And it should be said that there are some really quick methods to learning things like an instrument or anything you want to learn. But by and large, getting to that top level, that top tier where you want to be, like that killer musician, beast status musician, it takes time and it's a process to get there. And another way to get to that top tier level of beast mode musician that we're talking about is to focus on what's called the 1% rule. And this concept is like one of those kind of little sneaky concepts, like the whole wax on, wax off thing from like the Karate Kid. Like, you don't know that you're learning, karate, just from waxing cars and stuff like that until Mr. Miyagi says, wax the floor or whatever, right? It's one of these kind of concepts. And how it works is when you are practicing or when you're trying to learn something, you focus on the small incremental results. So focus on getting 1% better every time you sit down to play an instrument, or every time you sing a song, or every time you practice, or whatever the case may be. Just focus on that 1% of getting better. And what happens is over time, that 1% builds up. And it actually builds up pretty quickly. That's like the sneaky part about it. Like, you think 1% better, but then, 6 months down the line, you can do the math on that and you're at a more advanced stage than you would be otherwise. Because what happens is the alternative to that is what most people do. They have this sort of front-loaded rush where they go into it, they're gung-ho. The first couple of weeks, they're just in it. They're 6 hours a day and all of this kind of stuff, and then they tire out. And then it's like 6 months later, they're still can't even really do anything on an instrument. Versus the pacing yourself at the 1% better over time, and over time, you become a killer musician. And that brings me to another really important way that you get to this top tier level of musicianship or being a musician, and that is really take time to study music. And here's what I mean by that. I don't necessarily mean like in a school method or a formal method like that, where you got to go to college and you got to take college classes and you're studying music that way. What I mean is taking the music that you like, that you enjoy listening to, or that you want to learn to play, and listening to it in a way that you're listening to the stuff that's going on. You're listening to the song or songs repeatedly over and over, and you're garnishing information from it. Like, what is the bass player doing? What is the drummer doing? What's the guitarist doing? What the keyboard is doing, and all of that. And you're learning about the relationships between the instruments and how they operate with each other. You start to pick up on that stuff over time the more you listen. And what's really key about this is that method, the studying of music that way, sort of becomes the foundation or the undergirding of what you will become as a musician. So what you're doing there is putting building blocks in place for your own understanding and your own style, and you're developing that as you're growing and as you're listening to music that way. And what this looks like is simply you keeping your headphones on when you're in the gym, when you're running errands in the car. Keep a song on in the car and listen for something different in it each time you listen to it. And speaking of building blocks, another way that you get to this sort of top tier level of being a killer musician is you focus on mastering the basics. Look, I get it. I know. I understand that most people perceive the basic stuff as like boring. Nobody wants to focus on scales and rudiments and solfege and stuff like that. But every musician, every professional musician that is at that top tier level can attest to the fact that these basics, these sort of rudimentary things, is what is the foundation of what they're able to do and how they're able to do it. And those lucky ones who were kind of able to skip that process and still get to that status, they wish that they had not done that, because they see how important it is and they see how that could have contributed to them even being further up that, that tier level. And it's really crazy because all of that fancy stuff that you want to play or sing, on the guitar, on the drums, on the keys, or whatever, is built around scales and rudiments and stuff like that. How to finger those things, how to hold your sticks correctly, all of those type of things go into being able to do those things fluidly. Now, another thing that you can do to become a killer musician is simply learn one song per week. So one thing to understand about getting to this top tier level is learning music in this way is sort of like learning a new language. And what happens is when you're learning a new language, the more vocabulary from that language that you pick up, the easier it becomes to speak that language. And this is essentially what you're doing when you're learning one song a week. What you're doing is adding to your vocabulary. So if you learn a pop song this week, you learn a jazz song next week, a rock song the following week, or just multiple songs in the same genre that are just different, you're building your vocabulary and you're getting that information in from the music that you're learning. And essentially that's the same thing of getting more vocabulary in your sort of mental Rolodex from a language. And here's the thing about it, just like the language, you don't necessarily have to have the vocabulary perfect. So like the songs that you're learning, you don't have to know them perfectly, like you got to go perform them for, an audience of 50,000 people or something. You're just doing it enough to learn to play that song or perform that song or sing that song to where you have the vocabulary that song is offering you now. And you do that process over and over, and your vocabulary of music begins to build. And it's sort of a double bonus because not only are you getting the vocabulary from that music for your own sake and for your own learning, you're getting a vocabulary of songs. So when you start playing out live, or maybe you're already playing out live, you know more stuff. Like people can call a song and you're like, I know that. That's one of the songs I learned, right? And of course, there's many other ways to get to this sort of top tier beast killer mode level musician, and I've done quite a few videos about them, and you can check them out right here, right now.